Hi, welcome back, everybody. I'm Ray Lucia Jr., CEO of Lucia Capital Group. And in this week's video, we welcome Tim Shea, longtime financial advisor, personal friend, of course. Tim, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good, Ray. Thanks a lot. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so, a little bit about Tim. I mean, he's big time baseball fan. We're talking a little bit how much we miss baseball right now. And, opening day and then obviously with the boys playing ball. Tim, who's your favorite baseball team?
Well, I was born and raised in Connecticut, and my dad's from Massachusetts, so I'm a Red Sox fan.
Red Sox, a big Poppy.
Right. And my son plays high school baseball at the local high school here, so I'm a big fan of theirs as well.
That's right. Yep. And, he's a hell of a ball player, too. So, so today, we want to talk. Tim and I were talking after last week's video. Janine was talking about, helping our clients and everybody have the opportunity to get financially organized with their personal financial planning dashboard. And Tim and I were talking, and he said, what would be a great topic to talk about is beneficiary designations. While everyone's taking time to get their finances organized, it's always a good thing to double check your beneficiary designation. So today we're going to talk a little bit about beneficiaries. What's a beneficiary? What's the best way to set them up? And so, Tim, why don't we just get into it? Let's talk, what is a beneficiary? I think a lot of people do, but let's start there.
Right. Very simply put, the beneficiary is a person or entity who will receive your assets when you pass away. That can be money through investment accounts, deposit accounts. It can be property like houses, vehicles, etc. And it's important to know you can name primary and secondary beneficiaries. So the primary is in the front seat and gets your money if something happens to you. And if that person's not alive at the time of your passing, it goes to your secondary. So you can make a nice thorough list. Most commonly, people use their spouse as the primary beneficiary, and then children, friends, relatives. If you don't have a spouse, then you can do children, relatives, friends, etc.
And in some states, the spouse might have to be the primary beneficiary.
Correct. Right? Most likely in the community property states. That's right.
Right. And some people get confused on this. There's different ways that money could pass between beneficiaries. There's per stirpes and per capita. You want to talk a little bit maybe about the differences between those?
Right. Per capita or pro rata just means that if you have 3 beneficiaries and one is not living at the time of your death, the other 2 split the money equally. Per stirpes means that even if one of your 3 beneficiaries has passed, that person's family, down the family tree, which is what stirpes means in Latin, down the family tree, the children can get their share of the money.
Got it. So in one case, it may be in pro rata or per capita kind of structure, it's a third, a third, a third, then one may, predecease, and then it would essentially go 50-50, whereas a per stirpes classification, it stays within the family.
Right.
And gets split that way. That makes a lot of sense, Tim.
And that's your choice. You've got the flexibility to do it either way.
Great. Yeah, we talk about estate planning, and it's important because then there could be secondary, marriages and stuff like that. And if you really want your kids or your grandkids to get the money, maybe a per stirpes structure may be beneficial there.
That's right.
So who or what is allowed to be set up as a beneficiary, Tim?
Yeah, so you can use people. All the people I referenced earlier are available. Spouse, children, relatives, friends. You can use your family trust, which is not ideal from a tax standpoint, which we'll get to later. And you can use charities, organizations, entities of your choice.
And just don't use your financial advisor. That's a no-no in the industry.
And the tax efficient way to go is using people, individuals. Like your spouse or your children, etc. They have some options. Probably now might be the best time to talk about the various options of what people can do with the money when they inherit it. If the money goes to an entity or a trust or something to that effect, oftentimes there can be immediate taxation, okay, as it transfers into that other vehicle. If you use people, they have options on handling that money. A spouse, for instance, can move it into their own IRA and treat it as if it was their own IRA and all the rules going forward. A non-spouse can roll it into an inherited IRA and stretch out the taxes for a period of time. Now, I'm sure you're familiar, Ray, with the Secure Act. That recently just changed
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
someone's availability.
Yeah.
So prior to the Secure Act, a non-spouse beneficiary could roll money into an inherited IRA and stretch those withdrawals, the mandatory withdrawals, over their entire lifetime. Okay? There were a lot of good things in the Secure Act, but one of the trade-offs was now a non-spouse beneficiary can take an inherited IRA and they have to they have to zero out that account within 10 years.
Right.
So they can do it in the first year, they can do it a little bit at a time, they can do it in the 10th year, whatever works for them from a tax standpoint, but you've only got 10 years to withdraw and pay all the taxes.
So lots of new planning opportunities resulting from the Secure Act, and so we're talking about retirement accounts being beneficiaries, and of course, most commonly people think about maybe the life insurance contracts having beneficiaries, but Tim, what are other things people need to think about, where beneficiaries fit in?
Right. So life insurance is a big one. And keep in mind, you may have some employer life insurance if you're working, and you may have private life insurance that you bought on your own. So double check both of those. The oldest and most basic place to make bequests or to name beneficiaries is in a will. That's the simplest. But keep in mind that a will go to probate court, which can be expensive, slightly expensive, public, a little bit slow. So the main goal of naming beneficiaries is to avoid probate. Quicker, right, easier, cheaper. And the way you do that is on personal assets, like non-IRAs, non-401ks, you set up a trust, a family trust, and put all those accounts and your house and such and other things into a trust. You can also do transfer on death, which is just naming an individual beneficiary on a regular account down at the bank or an investment account. Right. And then IRAs, both traditional and Roth, 401ks, 403bs, other employer-sponsored plans, 457s, annuities, even non-IRA annuities will allow for a direct beneficiary. So all those things are places that give us a really good opportunity to name a direct beneficiary, avoid probate, and make money go where we want it to go very easily.
Yep, and that's what financial planning really is all about. And we're talking about getting organized. That's kind of the key theme right now.
Right.
Looking at your beneficiary designations is super important because maybe sometimes circumstances have changed. So, Tim, let's talk a little bit about why people might want to change their beneficiaries.
Right, that's a good question. So, various life events, right? You get married, and your spouse, either by law or by choice, probably both, needs to become your primary beneficiary. You get divorced, and you want to take your ex-spouse off your beneficiaries. You get remarried, one of your beneficiaries passes away, and you need to reshuffle a little bit, and just general voluntary changes. Anything that you decide along the way that you want to give money to certain people and that kind of thing, you can change it anytime you want, just voluntary changes. So, and one other is minor children. So typically, the best advice is not to name minor children as direct beneficiaries, because if they do end up inheriting the money, they can't legally open an account with which to do it, that kind of thing. So when your children become adults, you may want to move them into the beneficiary list.
Right. Well, Tim, this has been fantastic. I think you hit the beneficiary topic out of the park, my friend. And it's been great having you on the show today. And again, everyone, it's important right now to think about sometimes the non-financial stuff like beneficiary designations. Review your beneficiary designations. We're doing this all the time. Get financially organized. And with all this stay-at-home stuff, it's just important to stay focused on the big things. So the last thing that you want is after the fact, your money not to go where you originally intended it to go, right, Tim?
That's right. We've all read stories of situations where a person passed and whatever beneficiary designation was stuck on an old account or a certain account was not what they would have wanted for obvious reasons, and we want to avoid that.
Well, and this is serious stuff. And again, Tim, thank you so much. Tim Shea, CFP, longtime financial advisor, and everybody, I'm Ray Lucia Jr., and we're signing off. We'll see you next time. Take care.